we're going to go ahead and get into the stud muffins.
Yeah.
Oh. This week's Fantasy Stud Muffins.
Bortles McCown.
Speaking of Amir Abdullah, not a stud.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we should add him below.
You know, if there's one reason that the Lions are on 5, it's Drake Bell's missing.
Yeah.
Because he's got a little Tebow in him.
We're not allowed to talk.
He rallies the squad.
We're not allowed to say that name while we're talking about Fantasy Stud Muffins. Andy,
No, we can. He eats a lot of muffins.
That's true. I'll go ahead and talk about the quarterbacks.
Of course you will. You went undefeated in all your leagues thanks to the quarterbacks. So you talk about it.
In our main 3 leagues, I went 3-0, and it was thanks to 3 of these 4 guys. I started Josh McCown, 36 completions for 457 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he ran another one in. Started Andy Dalton against the Seattle D. I was saying that Andy Dalton might be the truth with all those new weapons, and he had 30 completions for 331 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he ran another one in. And then in the 3rd league, I started Eli Manning, who had 41 completions, 441 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And we can't forget, Blake Bortles, you had an amazing week as well with 4 touchdowns, 300 yards. So there's a lot of here's who was not named in these fantasy stud muffins for quarterbacks. Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. You see why we say in the draft season, stream these guys, and it's not like you can't.
Wait, did you say stream them, or were you the guy saying always start Matthew Stafford? I can't remember.
I was definitely the stream candidate. Because
I know, you were the Orlovsky guy.
And here's the thing, right? We help you pick these guys. We picked Josh McCown this week. That was your stream guy. I had him ranked as my number 5
That's a home run.
And
then worked out. That one worked out.
And I changed mine. Hopefully you guys are following us on Twitter. A lot of times we give you, I had Jay Cutler this last week as my fantasy stream of the week, but we pick those really early so you can get them on the waiver day. And then of course Alshon was out, Eddie Royal was out. So I posted on Sunday morning, don't play Cutler, play McCown, and Cutler still had a great game. He did very well against that awful Kansas City secondary.
They held up for almost the whole game.
Yeah.
I am done doubting Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Are you getting your now? I assume you
you
have the Jeremy Hill tattoo.
Well, see, I already have the
Listen,
Bengals.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So you're going to convert the Jeremy Hill on your jersey to Dalton Red Rocket?
Well, all I have to do is I'm bringing in a picture of Ronald McDonald and say, put this hair on this guy.
Okay. All right. Wide receivers. We talked about Andre Johnson. Mike said he would not go and sign him off of waivers.
No, I would not.
He had a big game on Thursday Night Football. Now, Allen Robinson, another fantasy stud muffin type of week, 2 touchdowns. Allen Hurns played very well, 5 for 116 and a touchdown. As long as that team is in these matchups where he's going to throw the ball a lot, and, I mean, even more if Julius is back to kind of pull the defenses to the middle of the field, and Yeldon, this injury, be watching because Hurns is an every week start. He got started against me, and he beat me in one league. So Brandon Cook's got to
hit the button.
Oh, the garbage man can.
Do we really? I mean, if that's the case, why are we putting him in the fantasy stud muffins?
Well,
because, like you said, garbage. You love garbage production. It's your favorite.
5 for 107 and a touchdown.
Yeah, it's your favorite.
It's okay. There are probably aren't there another 7 or 8 guys we could have put in there like that?
Nope.
All right, Willie Snead.
Oh yeah, the need.
I
got the need. The need for Snead. 6 for 147.
Oh, and we got
looks like the dude.
You got to shout this out. Our resident Photoshop fan, Rumballs.
Oh man,
the need for Snead one is the most legit Photoshop we've seen.
Yeah.
Your Photoshops are giving us the dedication we need to come up with more horrible puns. I mean, or the motivation we need to come up with more terrible puns. We will. Trust me. There might be some with Gary Barnage and a barn somewhere, but I haven't figured it out yet. All right. Julian Edelman, monster move in the middle of the field.
Yes.
Reminded me of a Jordy Nelson cutback.
Yeah.
Took it to the house. They took care of business. All right, let's go ahead and look at running backs.
Well, that's hold on.
All right.
Willie Snead.
We can hold on.
We got Willie Snead. Are we buying into Willie Snead?
100% I am buying into Willie Snead. Week after week after week, he's been on the field for more snaps. He's had more targets. He's earned the trust of Drew Brees, and I'm 100% on board. He is the number 2 guy there for Drew Brees. So yes.
I believe he is the number 1 guy there for Drew Brees.
Even
so
better.
you're completely in.
Yeah. Oh, you take away, I know, I'm not saying it doesn't count on the fantasy board, but the last pass of the game to Brandon Cooks for the touchdown.
I believe
Cooks has 4 catches, no touchdowns. Snead has by far the best game.
Snead did get quite a bit in the same drive, but
I think
the
3
nice thing
of
is
Cook's catches were on the last drive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Remembering right.
There
That's
was
all,
a lot
I'm
of-
saying is Snead looks. The reason you can buy in, just for fantasy owners out there, when this is a perfect contrast. Andre Johnson, 6 for 77, 2 touchdowns, okay? Mike's not buying in. Willie Snead, 6 for 147. We're buying in. Why? Because Andre Johnson's old, and Willie Snead is a rookie, and his role hasn't been established, which means that there is upside there. There isn't the same upside for Andre Johnson in terms of snaps, targets, all of those things. Snead, we don't know what his upside is, right? Am I explaining that correctly?
Yes. Yeah. Well, Snead is
So if you
us-
had to choose-
Snead is ascending.
right.
Andre
Yeah.
Johnson. Andre Johnson's not even descending. Andre Johnson is down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He had a good week. I'm gonna give him credit for that.
And
but
for those who are like, oh, the revenge game. How'd C.J. Spiller do against the Saints? Yeah, exactly.
against the Saints,
Yeah.
he's playing himself.
C.J. Spiller? Who am I now? Now I confused. Not C.J. Spiller. Sproles.
Oh,
sorry.
I see. All right.
Sorry, I had
Yeah, brain fart. It's okay. It's kind of the same player. They switch teams.
man. Now I've confused myself.
That's
So
thoroughly.
Willie
thoroughly.
Snead over Andre Johnson in the waiver wire.
Yes, 100%. I would rather have Willie Snead.
All right.
Put it this way: next week, I will start Willie Snead if he's on my roster. I would not have
Listen.
any trust to start Andre Johnson.
All right, we've got the running back spot, and I have to hit the button again. Mike, you owe him a second one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you really do.
All right. Mr. Devonta Freeman. I don't even know what I
The
could
things that
I
you
don't
said.
even know what I could say.
Listen.
I besmirched your name. I ran it through the mud. I ran it through the garbage dump. I left you abandoned and dead on the side of the road.
Bring the strings in here. All right.
My friend,
I'm sorry.
you are the truth. Devonta
Dude.
Freeman.
Like a phoenix, he rose from that garbage dumpster.
I figured it out. He heard that episode. That's what I figured out. Devonta Freeman heard the episode where you besmirched him. 27 for 153, a complete, unadulterated commitment to the run by the Falcons. They won the game, 7 for 44 through the air, and honestly, one of his rushing touchdown was a passing touchdown the play before. And I actually changed the channel because I didn't think there was any way they would overturn it, and then I find out they overturned
Not
it.
today's NFL.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But Devonta Freeman, does our opinions change at all now that he's done it 3 straight weeks in terms of would you just go out and try to work him in a deal for AP? Or for another big name.
I would still rather have another big name because I do think Tevin Coleman, while he was back, he was barely worked in. I think he got, 1 or 2 carries.
Yep.
And so it's one of those things where you can make the argument, and we should realize that there's a chance that, okay, he's back, but they're not going to change the mold because the mold has been working. They're 5-0. 3 of those games, Devonta Freeman was the man getting the entire workload, and they're just going to roll with it. That's a legitimate possibility. I think that it's probably more likely, though, that Tevin Coleman, as he gets further back from his injury, eats into the workload a little bit, and I don't see Devonta Freeman having the 27 carries week in, week. 3 weeks from now, I don't think Devonta Freeman's going to be getting those 25-plus carry games, and that's why I would rather trade him for a guy who doesn't necessarily, like an AP or some.
Yeah, I can go either way with that. I agree with all of your assessment. Coleman only played 9 snaps this past week. But you can come down off of 27 carries and still be pretty darn effective in the NFL. If you got 17 carries and you're catching 3 or 4 balls, half PPR league.
You bring up a really good point because look at when Tevin Coleman was completely healthy. Tevin Coleman had 20 carries in a game and Devonta Freeman had 10. That's 30 carries to your main guys. And so you just flip the script on that.
Yep.
Devonta Freeman's number 1.
Coleman
so he
could get some goal line.
So Freeman really should be, even if Coleman is worked in and both guys are healthy. By that logic and just remembering those first couple games, Devonta Freeman really should have 20 carries a game, and you can do a lot with 20 carries. Just imagine if Lamar Miller could ever get 20 carries in a game.
All right, other guys that stood out. Doug Martin looked great. 24 for
That's
123, 2 touchdowns.
What do you think about Doug Martin?
He's looked good all year as far as running the ball. It's a matter of opportunity, but he has
No, he
passed
looks
the eyeball
great.
test the entire season.
If you watch that game, there were probably, I would say, 6 to 8 plays where he made kind of above average moves to get into the open field. He scored on a really tight goal line jump. He scored on a pass. He scored on some shifty moves. I mean, he looks kind of like how he looked in the preseason. There's still going to be games where this team's down by 3 scores, and you're going to wonder if Charles Sims had a good game as well. I think he had 73 through the air or something like that. So Sims could get more work on those games when the game flow changes, and that's just the risk you run with a good running back on a bad team.
Yep.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Well, all right. So would you rather have Doug Martin going forward or Justin Forsett?
Forsett.
Okay, Forsett was 21 for 121 and a touchdown for 49 through the air. Ankle injury you need to monitor. Now, one guy that I'm very glad had a good game, statistically, fantasy-wise, is DeMarco Murray, because I had him rated very high this week, and I got to be honest with you, rating him that high
Felt terrible?
Felt terrible, and it felt scary, and I was worried about giving these recommendations because, he hasn't done it up to this point. And, there are guys like Hill that we can say, okay, he's going to bounce back. He doesn't bounce back, or Forsett that does. And so I was worried Murray might not be that guy, but he was. So Murray had 20 for 83 and a touchdown, 7 for 37 through the air. This is exactly the stat line I would expect from DeMarco Murray on most weeks. A touchdown, 20 for 80, sharing the rock with Ryan Matthews, and then catching a lot of check down stuff that gives you kind of that baseline of a fantasy game.
Yeah, I got no problem with that. I had him very high as well, I think, running back 10 going into this week. So very happy he came through. And it looks like the Eagles' offensive line has figured out something with the running game, because that is, to me, when I watched the game, the difference. They were doing some guard pulls where they would get out in front of them, and there would be some blockers, and there wouldn't be defenders in the backfield, which is always helpful for a running back.
It doesn't hurt when you have the opportunity to, take a step or two. Todd Gurley, 30 carries. Woo! And it should have been 60 the way Nick Foles was throwing the ball. I mean, I got to tell you, he's got to be the worst.
If you're in,
he's the worst.
If you're
I'll give him credit. He took some hits to make those horrible passes downfield. Sorry, you were saying if you're in a a 5 points per interception league, you draft Foles number 1?
No, I was still on the stud muffin Gurley. I'm just saying, if you're in a keeper league,
stay there. Stay on Gurley, not on Foles.
If you're in a keeper league, and you need a piece for the future, man, does he look like what the Rams were hoping he would be, and he hasn't got in the end zone yet. So there might be an owner there that's willing.
He will.
That's my point.
Yeah.
There might be an owner out there willing to give up something decent, and I think that you can overpay for him in a keeper league and be happy with that for years to come.
Yep.
It might be too early to say that. We're 2 games in.
No. I was just going to say there are very few running backs at this point. I've only seen 2 games, but you can't, that eyeball test that he put on the Packers. I mean, the Packers know they're going to run. And it doesn't matter. There are very, very few running backs who I would trade Gurley for. Like, if I'm going to move Gurley at this point, I want an upper echelon player. In the rest of the league, probably, maybe they don't agree with that. Then I'm not trading him. Like, I'm not. Basically, I'll say this: I'm not trading. Todd
Let me
Gurley.
ask you. I have a great redraft league, non-dynasty redraft league. Somebody comes to you and they say, "I'll give you Devonta Freeman for Todd Gurley." What do you do? What do you do rest of season?
I think I would rather have Freeman from a touchdown standpoint, because Atlanta's offense is going to be putting up a lot of points, and I don't think the Rams are. In a redraft league where the only thing that matters is now, and I'm not looking into the future and hoping the Rams get better and build around Gurley, this season they're both going to be pretty good, but I want those touchdowns.
All right, and then Thomas Rawls had a very big game, 23 for 169 and a touchdown, including a very long touchdown that I don't want to talk about because it destroyed me in one of my leagues. But and it's funny because if you looked on paper, if you looked on paper, Rawls, Dalton, you didn't want to start those guys
No.
because of the matchups. They're in Cincinnati against a really good run defense, backup running back. Fred Jackson is active, which, no, you should have started him. Rawls had a huge game. And, if you're the Lynch owner and you don't own Rawls, maybe you need to snag him before next week.
And
Or if you're the Rawls owner and you can get Lynch for something, I'm just saying either way, those two guys need to be on the same team.
What's your temperature on Lynch right now?
I think he plays next week and he'll be okay.
You think he'll be fine?
That's my current, assessment.
Do we think that Rawls eats anything?
No.
Nope. You
No, I
think
don't
Lynch
either.
comes back and he's...
I think Rawls goes the way of D'Angelo Williams when Lynch comes back.
I
Okay.
agree, but I don't.
Spelling him from here to here and there.
At the same point, I would have no issue assuming that Marshawn Lynch will come back and maybe miss another game, as the weeks go on. So you got to
Right.
keep Rawls there.
Tight end wise, you had Eifert, 8 for 90 and 2 touchdowns. You had Barnage, 8 for 139 and a touchdown.
And if you did not have those two guys...
You were sad.
You had no one. Yeah, Charles Clay, cramps, 1 for 7. We'll get into that in the tight end section. So Eifert, here to stay, huh?
Yep. Yeah,
And
sure is.
Gary Barnage, you guys see the barn catch? Caught it
Yeah.
right in his barn.
I've never seen a man with stronger glutes.
Yeah, that was impressive. I watched that play over and over.
Well, you want to talk about a lucky play. There was the back half of that. There was a little bit of skill there. But, they went up.
There was
they didn't
skill
get it.
from his back half.
Very nice.